Hello and welcome. Continuing from the comments and questions you sent in towards the end of last week, there is a part 2 here that someone had to just elaborate on because I didn't quite understand it first time around. And you go on to say, I think in simple words, one can say, why do we seek attention from another person? In my experience, I see that the more the attention we get, happier we are. And if we don't get it, we are miserable. While in a monk's life, one can see that the monk is not seeking attention. So the question is why we seek attention and how can we cope with the situation when we're not getting it. Okay, so thank you for clarifying your second question, and this is very clear and was elaborated, discussed by the Buddha in the Bahula Sutta, I think. I can't remember, I don't know. Praise and blame, gain and loss. If you simply search that, Buddhism, praise and blame, gain and loss, you can read the full sutta. But in a sense, what one must apply to all pleasant things, all sukha, is the fact that that can always end up as unpleasant. Dukkha. Dukkha, you'll be familiar with, the word for unsatisfactoriness or suffering. So, why are we seeking praise, or why do people seek praise? From other people. Well, going straight to the end of the question there, how can we cope with the situation when we're not getting it? Then don't seek it. So you say, the question is why we seek attention and how can we cope with the situation when we're not getting it? Don't seek it. In life, what might come along is praise as well as blame. So praise, people are praising you for all of the good you do, or people are blaming you for all of the bad you have done. As will come along in life, gain, enormous gains, profit, money, materialistic gains, getting lots of friends, getting lots of attention, as in this situation, and so will come along the opposite, loss. The loss of that attention, the loss of that recognition, the loss of those friends, the loss of that wealth, the loss of that money. So when we see everything with its two polar opposites, we can easily and more clearly see the middle path, the middle way, which is what the Buddha was drawing our attention to. Initially, when he first became enlightened and taught the Dhammacakka Sutta, having left a life of enormous riches or indulgence, a life of indulgence, materialistic wealth and indulgence, and then taken the very severe ascetic path, he discovered that it's somewhere in the middle path, the middle way, where, and there only, one can find contentment, satisfaction. It is only there where there is little or nothing to be lost. You have no particular gain of recognition to lose, or do you have any particular things that you're being blamed for to try and resolve that position, negate that position? You're in a place of neutrality, contentment. So you ask, why is it, or you notice that monks do not seek attention. That is right, because we intend to blend in to our surroundings, blend into the community we live within, or if we're living alone, into the society around us, without being noticed, to become almost, if you like, invisible. Make a mark, but only of a contributory, positive nature, where it's needed, where it's wanted, where it can be usefully applied. And all of this can come from the practice of the Noble Eightfold Path. So living in accordance with the practice of the Noble Eightfold Path, you come to see the nature of how, whether you're grasping onto seeking attention and recognition from others, seeking praise, that it only ends up with disappointment and suffering. If you look at some of the popular figures in the celebrity world of old, historically, you can see that very many of them come to a very sad and pitiful, sorrowful end for no apparent reason at all. They have all the trappings of wealth, everything they can wish for, all of the fame and adoration, yet they haven't found contentment and may resort to harmful drugs or other activities that result in their demise, because there is no satisfaction in that materialistic form of gain, whether it be in terms of wealth and money or actual popularity and praise. And this is a very dangerous way of trying to satisfy the defilement of greed. That defilement of greed, which is the root cause of seeking attention or recognition from others, praise in what you are doing, is a very dangerous way, because it is so, of course, fragile, because fashions, fads, trends come and go, are so transient, are so fickle, are so baseless. So one minute someone might be popular, the next not so popular. And it doesn't take much for someone to lose that quickly gained fame can be quickly lost. So it goes all along with that same principle of fame and praise and blame, gain and loss. Not sure I've explained that terribly well, but I think you see where I'm coming from. Find the middle way and don't seek attention. You know it's causing suffering already to have asked the question. How do we become a Buddhist monk? Please reply and contact Namo Buddhaya. Okay, I can't contact you because I don't know how to contact you. So you can contact me by the email address on the channel description page. But I have made a video some time ago about how one becomes a Buddhist monk. And I should perhaps make a more updated version of that. But it rather depends on which country you're in at the moment, where you live, and a number of other factors, of course. But if there is a monastery nearby where you can go to, the best place to begin is to walk into that monastery and ask. And whatever tradition, whatever school of Buddhism it might be, that's your best starting place, because you've got a foot in the door of Dharma. You're going into a place where there are practitioners of Buddhism who have dedicated their lives to that, and they will be able to point you in the right direction, hopefully, or if in the case that they can't, you will soon establish that fact for yourself and then be able to do your research and find alternative places to visit. But this is the best place to start. It's a long and arduous process and can take sort of up to, anything, really, any amount of time. It really depends on the individual concerned. But don't make it a goal to become a Buddhist monk. Make it a goal to have the best and most ideal situations, or the best support for your practice. There's no such thing as the ideal monastery or the ideal situation, but monastic life, the life of a bhikkhu, is certainly the best way to live in order to support the practice in accordance with the Noble Eightfold Path. Because you don't have a job, you are supported by means of food, clothing, shelter and medicine, which is all you need, and all of your time can be devoted to the practice of maintaining your precepts, practicing meditation and developing wisdom. So that's how you become a monk, and this is how you practice in lay life also. But if you want to drop all of the work, family, social life, and are prepared to take the path of renunciation, giving all that up, even your identity, shaving off your hair and you're losing your name for the sake of another name given to you and not chosen, and some robes given to you and not chosen, you'll are giving yourself, really, this existence, this rebirth into the human realm to the practice solely. That's how you do it. In simple terms, just find a place where they'll accept you to go and do that and ask. And it may take a very long time. Don't expect it to happen overnight. Is there a place where your talks can be downloaded and listened to offline, or an app where they are posted to? Well, all that I know is that they can be downloaded on here, on this platform, on YouTube, and listened to offline. But it could be the case, and I think it's probably the case in most countries, that you have to have YouTube Premium in order to do that. So that's as much as I know about it, because I'm not very up to date with these kinds of things. But I'm pretty sure that you can take the material, it's on what they call some sort of open license or something. There's no copyrights involved or anything like that, and do with it whatever you wish. I know people do write to me for permission sometimes to include my talks, these videos, in other content elsewhere, in other media, and also on YouTube. And I always say, yeah, it's up to you. Of course you have my permission. Do with it what you wish. It's not mine. I'm only sharing some words, my experience of practicing the Dharma. I don't own anything other than these robes, my bowl, and the other 6 requisites of mine. So 3 robes, bowl, belt, needle and cotton, water filter, and that's it, isn't it? Anyway, I don't own much, but I certainly don't own any of this content on here. So you can do with it what you wish. I'm sure there are apps that must grab stuff, or things you can get that grab stuff off here if you need to listen to things offline, and you can download them. But the quickest and easiest way is you get YouTube Premium, and then you don't have any adverts. So because it's very cheap in this part of the world, I have YouTube Premium, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to listen to Dharma talks on YouTube. And I like to listen to Dharma talks occasionally on YouTube. And but I don't want to listen to 15 adverts about whatever might be being advertised these days and in this part of the world before getting to that Dharma talk. So I have to, or I do have the option or the opportunity to have what is called this YouTube Premium, which in this part of the world is very cheap, but I appreciate it might be more expensive elsewhere. So I don't know, so you can find ways. The main point being, it'll probably stay there as long as it stays there. It's, I think, which is forever. I'm lost here. I don't know how this stuff works. Someone would be to hopefully help you and reply to your comment as well that knows more about this stuff than me. I thought Theravada monks were not allowed to sing or chant melodically. Okay, no, I don't think that's right, to be honest. In the Vinaya, well, it's weird, in the suttas there's a part where the Buddha praises singing in praise of the Dharma, but I think he's referring to devas and lay people in that context. But as far as the Vinaya is concerned, I think you might have moved the camera. This kitten, once again, it's not mine. They just come. Singing, dancing, entertainment, this kind of thing is against the 7th, isn't it? 7th precept, and to be refrained from. This supports our other precepts, both moral precepts and our code of conduct within the Vinaya. And yes, in terms of chanting, we are not to chant with too much of a melody. But certainly in any of the chanting we do, you'll find very, very different variations on the same chant. You can listen to the same chant in one country and it's unrecognizable to that in another. I can listen to you can listen in my morning chanting in the background. You'll hear the chanting going on in nearby temples here in their Sri Lankan form, which is actually what I'm chanting in the morning, but it sounds completely different. And I find it difficult to even recognize which verse they might be on, because they draw out very long notes. Now that in the Vinaya is actually strictly strictly prohibited. But like all these things, and I keep saying, it's not a case of what we're allowed to do and not allowed to do. What is supportive to our practice? Now, if we go around singing tunes melodically and turning the chants into attractive little ditties, attractive little jingles, attractive little tunes, it defeats the object of them. People can get hooked to the tune, and we're trying to get away from that nature of things. So we have, like in the Gregorian chants, that's not right, is it? I think that's what it's called. These sort of so many notes that we use when we're chanting. There are a couple that are slightly more melodic than others. I don't know why that is, but if you've learnt your chanting in various temples and that's what happens in that chant, it tends to stick with you. So where the actual tune comes from, which does differ between the different chants that I chant, for instance in the morning, I don't know. But it is by no means singing or even melodical. It's by no means a melody. It's not like singing All Things Bright and Beautiful or Amazing Grace or Morning Has Broken or anything like that. I don't think Cat Stevens is going to ever take a tippy so and start strumming away on his guitar and make a #1 hit out of such a chant, because the content, the notes are not there. So this is really what the guidance in the Vinaya is directing us to. And certainly I don't find or feel that the chanting I am doing in the morning is by any means singing or singing melodically or chanting melodically. I suppose it depends what you're used to. They take it to varying extremes. In some countries it's very dry, ba, ra, 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 ra. In others it's all over the place. And you know, it just varies culture to culture. It really doesn't matter too much. It's by no means ever going to make the top 10. They probably don't have such things now. The hit parade, these things. So there we go. Thank you. No. Could you kindly explain if truly the realms of David and Bhuta, hungry ghosts, etc., exist, or are they just parables? So, sure, I've spoken about this more detail. Well, the realms, the other realms, the Deva realms, the heavenly realms, the Brahma realms, the godly realms. What we can see and hear and smell, taste, touch and feel, experience, is this human realm, and to some extent around us the animal realm. This is ever present and reminding us of its existence all of the time. Unless we develop psychic powers, which can be developed and experienced in meditation, but not recommended because they are just a distraction from focus, from samadhi and attaining to deep absorption, jhanas. They're going to put you off because they might be enjoyable and attractive. They're like music, like entertainment, like a movie. So if they're coming along, you have to regard them as phenomena and let them pass, and hopefully move into a peaceful, tranquil state of mind, samatha, leading to samadhi. This is the purpose of meditation. But developing psychic abilities might enable you to experience those other realms also, in which case for yourself you will see, experience, maybe have the presence, the knowledge of devas around. People might experience and know of devas in these trees around me. Personally, I don't. Or necessarily, if I did, wouldn't divulge that anyway, because it doesn't matter. It isn't important. They're there to some extent, yes, as parables, to give us an idea of certain rebirth into some realm or another, and how difficult it is to get out of certain realms, and to make the best of this opportunity in this realm to practice and be free from suffering in this lifetime in order to avoid rebirth in any realm at all. So on the basis that any birth into any other realm is to be avoided, we were looking to prevent rebirth and to attain to nibbana. freedom from rebirth, then we don't really need to look too deeply into those other realms. Suffice to say, the hell realm is that of so much suffering and no exposure to Dharma, and very difficult to escape, and therefore very, very long. As the animal realm is also, where you're forced to kill for your daily food and to break all kinds of precepts, and won't have a good understanding of Dharma unless you're a fortunate enough kitten or a dog or a frog or a cat or a snake or a lizard or a crocodile or a monkey that happens to live with me here in this little cootie, in which case if you're any of these jungle creatures, they're continually exposed to the Dharma by me sitting here talking to you like this, and they're listening to it and absorbing it subconsciously, I'm sure. And I help them with their food so that they don't have to kill much. And this, I hope, is giving them a little bit of a step up into a human rebirth. So that's what we're looking for at best. The best form of rebirth is in the human realm, where we have the opportunity to listen to Dharma and practice Dharma and become free from suffering in this lifetime and no future rebirths. The heavenly realms might be very exciting. Tusita realms, for instance, the heavenly realms where it's all parties and sensual pleasures and music and everything wonderful you can possibly think of going on for countless, in our understanding of time, countless years, decades, thousands, millennia of years, eons in fact, you might be in those Tusita heavenly realms. But there's no suffering. Without suffering, you can see no reason for escape, but you'll also not find actual real contentment. You'll just immersed in this pleasure, which can be stifling in itself, as we were just talking about with the extremes there of pleasure and pain, praise and gain, praise and blame, gain and loss. So this human realm is like the middle path of realms, but it's also the only path in which we can very easily, it might be you might pass into the heavenly realms or the hell realms on your way to Nibbana, but you'd have to visit the human realm briefly to finally be able to actively cut off the fetters and ties to rebirth, to achieve enlightenment, in other words. Rebirth is proven, question mark. Yes, yeah, because you're here. You've been reborn. So we've spoken about that just recently. So moving straight on. You mentioned there is an enjoyment to waiting. And give the example of waiting for an airplane and sitting in an enjoyable lounge while you were waiting for the flight. Isn't that a bit hypocritical of being mindful? That is to say that if you're enjoying the moment, then you're separated yourself from the mindset of mindfulness. So I wouldn't say it's hypocritical of being mindful. You can be mindful of enjoying yourself. You can be certainly in the present moment, and it's perfectly okay to enjoy yourself. I think it was a very bad example, though, that I gave in that particular talk of the airport lounge that's specifically dedicated to monks and has it's even its own library and even comfy seats and chairs and things like that, because I never actually sit in that particular lounge because of all those things. I don't actually find it's the best place to sit and wait. My favourite place to sit and wait in airports is if you go to the far ends of the big waiting rooms, you could call them, I don't know what they're called, departure lounges they call them, but they're not really lounges, are they? They're just hard seats. But if you go to the far ends of those, there's usually staircases or cupboards and along a wall where they keep all the cleaning equipment, and you can usually sit on a nice flat floor, a hard floor, but I'm used to that, hard floors, under a staircase in a corner somewhere behind some mops and buckets and brooms, and sit in a quiet, undisturbed, peaceful place where you can just enjoy some meditation. That's where I normally sit. So I'm not sure quite what you're getting at in your comment there. And it was probably, though, not a very clear comparison or example that I was using in that particular talk, which I can't even really quite remember now. Separated from mindfulness, separated from the mindset of mindfulness. You either have mindfulness or you don't. as much as you might I'm not really sure what a mindset is. Establishing a state of mind that is prone towards mindfulness, just practice mindfulness. And if you can't, you're not practicing enough samadhi. And if you can't practice samadhi, you're not practicing enough mindfulness. Sounds like a chicken and an egg, doesn't it? But you gradually build up both skills, samasati, right mindfulness, samadhi, right concentration, through the practice of each of them. So if in all of your daily activities, including sitting, whether you're in an airport comfortable lounge, a VIP suite, or whether you're on the floor by the cleaning buckets, it's the same mindfulness that you apply as to anywhere, in your kuti meditating or in the temple meditating, walking along the street, a busy town street, or peacefully in the morning on alms round. Wherever you are, you're practicing mindfulness through all of your activities of body, speech and mind, throughout all of your daily activities, from the moment you wake until the moment you go to sleep. This is keeping mindfulness. And as soon as you forget mindfulness, well, it's okay, but eventually you'll remember, and then you can look, I lost mindfulness for often what will bring you straight back into mindfulness is if something goes wrong. Because you can pretty much be sure that every time something goes wrong, you stub your toe, or you drop something, break something, spill a drink, anything, accidents that might happen, is a lack of mindfulness. You are not conscious of all what's going on around you in the present moment. You are either thinking about the past or you're thinking about the future. This is what causes the majority of mistakes, the majority of accidents. Let that accident, that mistake, bring you straight, as it does, back into the present moment. If you stub your toe, it hurts. Where's that pain? Right here and now, in this present moment, in the body, as of now. You're mindful then of that pain. That's mindfulness. Where your mind was that caused you to stub your toe is lack of mindfulness, not mindfulness. So that you're not separated from mindfulness, you're not just using it, you're simply just not using it. It's just that. What is the true value of meditation as something separate from awakening? Or is it a poor question to ask? And there can be no line drawn between the two. So it's okay, it's not a poor question to ask. There's never really a poor question to ask. So what is the true value of meditation? I spoke about that just in the last talk, didn't I? Yeah, they are, where it said, is meditation important if you want to be a Buddhist? So just go back to the last video in these questions and answers, where I do answer that in full. What is the true value of meditation as something separate from awakening? Well, we meditate in order to become enlightened, or awakening is another word for enlightened. Buddha means awake, so the awakened one. So meditation is the practice in order to become, along with sila, moral virtue, meditation and developing wisdom, is how we become awakened. So it's like saying, how is driving a car separate from Colombo? So say you want to drive a car from here in Bentota to Colombo. How is driving a car separate from Colombo? Well, it's because the car is the means to get to Colombo. You drive the car to get to Colombo. Well, I don't drive the car. We don't have a car. Last time I went to Colombo, we went in a tuk-tuk, which is the usual means of transport. But the tuk-tuk is just the means to get to Colombo. So this is how it is separate. What is the true value of meditation I've spoken about as something separate from awakening, or is it, and can there be no line drawn between the two? So clearly it's totally different things. So yes, they're definitely not a case of drawing a line between the two. You've had some, then you go on to say you've had some meditative experiences. You go on to say quite a lot about that, which I'm not going to read through now. These meditative experiences are not enlightenment and not awakening. They're experiences, they're phenomena. Mostly and usually can be put down to just imagination. that's going on in the mind, almost dream states that happen when you kind of doze off. If you've lost your mindfulness, if you've lost attention on the meditation object, whatever happens is certainly not awakening. You've lost mindfulness. So however wonderful it might seem, whatever the phenomena is, flashing lights, heavenly realms, seeing the past lives, seeing, like I was saying earlier, psychic phenomena. You might visit all of the other realms in existence and speak to the devas. This might be an ability that you develop and can still use after awakening, but it isn't awakening in itself. It's just phenomena that you might experience along the way, but is also a distraction towards awakening itself, because you can get caught up in it through its sensual nature, through the enjoyment of it, and then forget that you should be just simply watching your meditation object and trying to get absorbed in meditation so as you're not having to experience anything at all. Sunyata, emptiness. In this state, there's nothing going on to describe or experience sensually, through the body, through the senses of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, or even thinking or emotionally. In jhana, the fourth jhana, you're separated not only from the hindrances and the physical feelings, but mental thought and experience, and able to just experience clear, pure, conscious awareness of there being nothing in your way or nothing to get over, just purity of mind. Buddhism is about the deny of God, and you can't deny the biological organism if you're inside a cell. Perspective is all to understand the truth. Okay, so I mean, Buddhism is not about denying God. As I've just spoken, there are heavenly realms, there are Brahma realms, there are many gods. It's not about denying or confirming the nature of God. It isn't the belief, however, of one and a one only God or a creator God. It is not, and you can't deny the biological organism if you're inside a cell. And in fact, if you look at Buddhism, perhaps, rather than, I don't know, something you've heard, you'll see we're continually talking about the body. We even have a chant, not denying the biological organism, but going through the 32 parts of the body. Now, I know that isn't an expansive medical encyclopedia of the body down to the cellular structure, but it is certainly not denying the biological nature of existence. But what we're learning in Buddhism is that biological existence is impermanent, anicca. That biological existence is unsatisfactory, dukkha, suffering. And it isn't what we are. It isn't our self, just this physical body and this thinking brain. However intelligent the thinking brain becomes and knowledge it gains, that will be lost. However fit and healthy, beautiful or ugly this body is, that will die, will decay, will rot, will return to the elements, will be lost. That is not what we are. But as a vehicle for practice, it is what we use. But that is not what becomes. That is not what becomes or is enlightened, awakened. That which is enlightened, awakened, is the mind. And that mind is the citta, not even the thinking brain, the biological brain, but that mind outside that which cannot be positioned, identified, located biologically. If I will do job and remain single and give as much time possible to meditation, can I live pure and chastity? Yes, if you choose to, as a layperson, you can live the brahmacharya life, a life of celibacy, but it is not necessary. It isn't part of the precepts. Only the third precept is that one must refrain from sexual misconduct. So therefore only engage in mutually beneficial, agreeable and acceptable relationships within the cultural environment that you live. So in that sense, if you find it is an aid to your practice, which it is, to live a life without being engaged in a relationship, and to live a celibate life, which it is, and you can try this out maybe once a week or once a month or more regularly by just keeping to 8 precepts rather than 5, where the third precept's change is to no refraining from sexual activity, then you can do that. There's no reason to stop you. So you don't, and you can carry on as in lay life, doing your job. Time possible to meditate. Can I live pure and chastity? You know, that's the kind of thing up to you, isn't it? I don't think there's anything getting in your way to keep the 5 precepts or 8 precepts. Probably what might help you is look at in your own language, look at the 5 precepts and check that you're adhering to all of those. If you are, then look at the 8 precepts, and you can Google this and see if you want to adhere to those as well. And if you do, then this is the next step to take towards, and if this is the question, I'm guessing a bit here what you're asking, this is the step towards purifying your mind and becoming free from suffering within this lifetime, and ultimately enlightenment. But you may find along the way you would wish to give up your job and move into a monastery and maybe ordain sometime, because it's a much more comfortable and supportive way to proceed towards enlightenment in both the ancient world in the time of the Buddha and the modern day world today. So on that note, I think there's maybe one short question here. Oh, do you know of any monasteries in the UK? So if you Google forestsangha.org, then it will come up with, and then go to monasteries and then go to UK or any other country, if anyone's interested in any other country. At least they're the Forest Sangha, the monasteries I'm familiar with in the UK, that is, and other parts of the world. They will come up in a list there. Otherwise, just Google monastery, Buddhist monastery near me, I should think, would do it. But if you're asking me, do I know them from experience, then those ones that come up through forestsangha.org are of the tradition I was first introduced to Buddhist monks in. And I think for now that will be sufficient for today. And until next time, be happy and stay well. Sukhi Hotu.